Hi everyone, this is Jay Beeks and welcome to your Equity, Justice, and Sustainability SOS 310 course. The date today is August 5th, 2019, and I hope you've all had a good summer. You've got some rest and some relaxation and everything else that you wanted to get done this summer. Hope you did something interesting. So this will be my first time with this course, and I'm looking forward to it quite a bit, as well as getting to know all of you. As you know by now, there's no text for this course. I've had a couple emails on this, and so that's probably going to be a relief to a few of you. All the materials are furnished. There are, however, quite a few good resources out there that you may be interested in on environmental ethics, the broader subjects of equity and justice, and then, of course, sustainability is another extremely broad topic, but there are lots of great books on there. One of the books I'm going to be using outside of the literature in the course is Environmental Ethics. Hopefully you can see this. And this is by Louis Pojman and Paul Pojman. But it's just chock full of information on environmental ethics, written by some of my favorite authors and professors and just some really strong thinkers on the subject. So most of my teaching background, however, has been in graduate courses at different universities. You'll see that in my bio. Some of it's been at ASU. I'm now full-time faculty at ASU, but most of my teaching has been elsewhere, and it's all been graduate work, renewable energy, and sustainable transportation, and that type of thing. So as much as I love those courses, and I will continue to teach them, I'm really looking forward to this one because I believe that this is perhaps not only a very broad subject, but it's one that's needed more than the other subjects are today just because of everything we've got going on in the world. We obviously have a population crisis going on that's leading to all kinds of other problems, such as a food crisis, a climate crisis, climate change, famine, etc. And I think we can, as we start to get into ethics and sustainability a little bit more, we'll realize that a world population of 7.5 billion, quickly approaching 9 billion, is going to cause sustainability problems across the planet. And one of those externalities, as I refer to them, is global climate change, but that's just one of many. And so I think the subject of ethics becomes much more important, as well as equity and justice, and then the broader topic of sustainability, and how we treat each other and how we accommodate people that are living, for example, in third world countries, people that are living in Mexico, Central America, South America, Africa, parts of Asia, that they've got it much more difficult than those of us here in a developed country such as the United States or Canada, and it becomes a real problem of injustice. Sometimes it's been called a dangerous inequity, and so these are the kinds of problems we're going to have to deal with this century, and it's only going to get worse as our populations get higher. We'll probably have well over 11 billion people by the year 2100. Some of your kids and grandkids will experience that, but who knows what it's going to be by the year 2300. It could be 30 billion if we don't learn how to control our population growth. So I've published a couple of papers on the subject of externalities. My emphasis in my dissertation was on alternative economics, and I became quite fascinated with externalities, which I think a lot of you are familiar with externalities, but my focus has been on human behavior such as consumption patterns that threaten other species and natural ecological systems. So that's kind of been my emphasis. I'm particularly interested in human activities that include our consumption in particular, and how that impacts natural ecological systems and other species. So getting a little bit more into this course is going to start on a Thursday, and then day 7 will be Wednesday. So that's going to be our weekly cycle. Things will typically be due at midnight on Wednesday, Arizona time. So this course is packed with all kinds of resources. You really do not need to get a textbook unless you really want to get one. If you do get one, I would actually recommend this. Only get a newer edition. This thing was, I don't remember what edition this is, but 6th edition. This thing was published back in 2012. So they've probably got a 7th or even maybe an 8th edition of that now. But we're going to start out in this course, we're going to be talking about justice, and then we're going to be moving into species rights, which is something I'm particularly interested in. And then we'll move on to the main subject of study, which is something I've spent a lot of time on, and that's sustainability. We'll then examine incorporating justice into sustainability. I think most of you will decide that this needs to happen. In week 5, we'll examine urban sustainability and justice, and the following week we go right into the heart of the issue many of us face today, which is climate justice. And then the final week is largely devoted to your final paper. But for this course, we also dive into intergenerational and intragenerational ethics, as well as carbon taxes, and then more on climate justice, along with some of the hard decisions that we're all going to need to make going forward. We'll be looking at the teachings of many great philosophers and thinkers, ranging all the way back to Plato, and then jumping into some of my favorites in the 20th century, such as Peter Singer, Martin Luther King, and then I've also thrown in Aldo Leopold for one of our many assignments. And Aldo Leopold, I think, is considered by many to be a front runner in sustainability issues for the 20th century, kind of focusing on natural systems rights and other species rights. And he has a really interesting story about when he was a hunter, when he was young. Aldo Leopold, by the way, is no longer alive, but when he was a hunter and when he was young, he went on a hunting expedition. They killed a wolf. And after he saw the life leave the wolf, it was a very stark description, but the wolf had green eyes, and he watched the eyes go from green and slowly fade to gray, and then he realized that there was a living spirit within that wolf, and it was much more than the creature that you see. So he saw the light actually leave the animal, which changed his life forever, and he became a very strong environmentalist after that, and a vegetarian, and no longer hunted and no longer ate meat after that encounter with the wolf. So perhaps it's fortunate that he did kill the wolf, because he's left us with some really great writings and some really great quotes that we can enjoy now and as we're studying this subject. So I think you're all going to enjoy this course, and I know that you will get some valuable information out of it, and that information will serve you in your lives, your careers, and as change agents, which is something I focus on in sustainability leadership. And also, please don't hesitate to reach out to me by email, and I'll see you all very soon in the course.